This is a View from the Bridge, official podcast of the Belfast Giants for kingdomofthegiants.com. Today's Tuesday, the 11th of April, 2023. My name's Patrick Smith. You can get us live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and also download us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all of your normal podcast providers. Thank you for joining us on this week's show. Belfast, Sheffield, Cardiff, Nottingham, they've all made the Final Four this weekend at the NIC. We'll look quickly at a tight affair between the Giants and the Clan. Let's look forwards, not back. And we're going to preview this weekend with a wealth of guests. Hopefully we'll be joined by Scott Conway, Panthers media manager Chris Ellis, Sheffield and Team GB captain Jonathan Phillips in the week of his domestic retirement, and Todd Kelman, who I believe is with the Cardiff Devils these days. Who knows? Mr. McGimsey, how's it going?
Not too bad, Paddy. Got playoff beard coming on here. Tradition dictates, but I've been offered a few gigs as Santa, so maybe it's time to pack this tradition in.
Yeah. I thought about it, but it always just gets on my nerves. Like literally gets on my nerves.
I've done it every year from the start of following the Giants, and whenever I was first following, I couldn't even get a wee bit of stubble going, and now I've got a white thing going. It's terrible. Can't wait that we'll win on Sunday night to get it off.
no playoff beard for you, says.
No, man, I just don't suit it at all.
I knew.
I know, but you've got an upside down head. You're covered in black hat, so you don't have the white hair. But no, just not interested in it at all, mate. That's not something. I tried it in 2007 at the World Championships. I didn't shave for 9 days, and that was it. So a maximum would go now would be 2. That's it.
No, not for me. Not for me, mate. Not for me. But fair play, Davy. Like you say, hopefully come Sunday we'll be lifting the trophy, and then you can get the Mach 3 out, and away you go. Other razors are available. Right, gents, let's have a quick chat about the games that took place this weekend between the Belfast Giants and the Glasgow Clan. Also, what happened at the start of the game on Saturday? If I can get this video to play, things seem to be running very slowly. Of course they will. It's podcast night. The Belfast Giants were able to raise the the championship banner at the SSE Arena. It's good, says, to be able to raise the banner in front of the team that won the title.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often, I would like to say that,
and just as we looked down,
let me just play that sound down for you. Sorry.
Yeah, that guy doesn't, he's just annoying to listen to anyway. It doesn't happen very often where you get the opportunity to raise a banner in front of a team that actually wins a championship. Luckily enough, we've been able to do it twice this year. We've got really good connections with regards to getting banners made. Over the last couple of years, we've needed to use that contact, and James Glover's managed to basically get the information all done, get it all sent, and get it ready to put up. And the big thing about it is, you see it in the NHL, and when Stanley Cup banners are raised, I'm not saying we're anywhere near as important as the Stanley Cup, but it can take forever by the time you bring people out onto the ice and get things ready. But the way we've started to do it in the last couple of games that we have the opportunity to do it, it's 90 seconds and it's done. And then it's time to concentrate in the game. And you're not paying, you're not having the other teams to set about waiting in the locker room. And it's just a matter of getting it done and getting out there and getting ready to play. So it's fantastic for the boys that they get to see it happening on the ice. Obviously, I had Dicko with me on Saturday night doing the commentating, and he's part of that. He played a big part, and he doesn't seem to think he does, but he really does. We all think very highly of Dicko, and it's important that he, he has certainly played his part, and he's got 5 more championships, and he also got to put together. For that to happen, it's another fantastic treat for him as well. So fantastic for the team, but this is where we need to draw a line under it for us just a certain amount of time. We have another 2 weeks of the season to go at that time. And lucky enough, we managed to do enough to scrape through, which we will touch on now.
Right, let's get stuck into those games. The game that took place at the SSE Arena on Saturday. Well, I'll give you all the stats of Saturday and Sunday as a bit of a block, and we'll talk about the quarterfinals sort of as one. The Saturday's game was, of course, a 4-2 lead for the Belfast Giants at the end of 60 minutes. Cooper, Ari, Bast, and Ari with a second. Both of those, Bast and Ari second, were on the power play. With regards to the Glasgow Clan, McPartland on the power play and Shabbat on the power play. Tyler Beskorowany, 16 shots on, 2 against. Ty Taylor, 42 shots on, 4 against. And the referees in that game were David Good and Joe Sewell. We flip on to the next night. The Belfast Giants were actually defeated on the night, but victorious overall. Glasgow 4, Belfast 3 with a 7-6 victory for the Giants. Glasgow's goals come from McPartland, Stevenson, Massey, and Solo. Another 2 goals in the power play. 4 power play goals against the Belfast Giants is pretty rare, I think, this season, but we'll come on to that. The Giants, 2 of the Giants' goals come from Scott Conway. He'll be joining us later. And the third one come from Will Cullen. Tyler Beskorowany, 24 shots on, 4 against in that game. And Ty Taylor, 35 shots on, 3 against for him. Toby Craig and Pavel Hallis were the 2 referees over at Braehead Arena. Davy, I'll start with you. I've listened to a few podcasts and stuff this week, and things people are saying in comparison to what they were saying before the weekend. And more or less everybody's saying that this was a much tighter affair than anybody expected to be.
I think that whenever I was going through, after the final results were in over the weekend, and I was looking back over the last sort of 15 to 20 years of playoff weekends to see who had qualified, didn't really go into quarterfinals that much. Quarterfinals, whilst important to win them, performances aren't all that important. It's about getting to the big show. It's about getting to the dance, and we've got our way through there. We got ourselves into a lead on Saturday night. Obviously, the first goal, Clan dump in. It's a really quick up from Foley, and it's all Mark Cooper from then. A bit like Ben Lake's goal to an extent of putting the backside out there and making the D-man go the long way round and just out waiting Taylor, who played very well across the weekend, actually. But then the Giants go in, and then the second one's a really nice goal as well. It's a bit of a pick pass from Ori, and he combines with Cons, who goes up the ice and plays that sort of freezes Ty with a fake shot and puts him in. And then we run into a little bit of penalty trouble. You talked about 4 goals on the penalty kill the weekend, 2 of them 5-on-3s. You have to do something special in the playoffs to get a 5-on-3 against you. We've had 2 on 2 nights, and unfortunately we haven't been able to keep the puck out of the net. But then we've came up with 2 power play goals of our own. I suppose the disappointing thing about the penalties that we conceded, they're ozone penalties. They're 200 feet from our own net, and we'll want to close that down next weekend for sure. But to come out, Gabe Bass with another Gabe Bass bomb, and then that tic-tac-toe, the same combination again. I think it's goody to Cons, the RA again. That combination's been pretty good all season on the power play, and they come up with another one. And we'll come out with that 2-goal lead, which I think was really crucial for us. A couple of big saves. We obviously had that incident in, I think we were only 1-0 up at the time. Besco comes up with 2 great saves, and then there's the kicking in goal, and that could have given them a little bit of momentum. Look, they played well across the weekend. They played a team that were desperate. This was their season. The Giants have had Challenge Cup final, 11 games in the Challenge Cup to play. They've had 54 games in the league, and every single game, basically, for the Belfast Giants made something, especially since Christmas. The sort of last 30, 33 games meant everything for the Giants. They've been on that awful long run. To an extent, this has been the Clan season. Try and get into that 8th place and roll the dice and see what they could come up with. And they played well across the weekend. Their special teams were good. And just fortunate for us, big moments. Besco came up with big saves. There were some massive blocks across the weekend. Jeff Baum, I think, towards the end of Sunday night, comes up with a monster block. Donovan Niles comes up with a special one as well. So everybody bought in. And as I said at the start of my piece, it's just about getting to Nottingham, and then you go from there again.
Says, before I come to you, let's just get the coach's thoughts on Saturday's game.
Yeah, we knew the way we defend 5-on-5 that we were going to give them problems getting in and getting quality looks. But we also knew that lately their power play has been very hot. And, like you said, 3 ozone penalties, and 2 of them cost us. And then we had a very big kill in the third period that kind of sparked us on there. I thought we raised our intensity level in the third period, which is what ultimately got the job done for us. And we're going to have to follow that up into tomorrow because we're playing against a very desperate Glasgow team that is playing playoff-style hockey. And I thought for the first two periods we didn't really want to battle through that. In the third period, I thought we took over that period. And again, though, you're playing against a team that is up against it right now. If they lose, they're done. But the reality is, if we lose, we're done. So, we need to match that intensity tomorrow if we want to get the job done.
Yeah, I thought we did what we wanted in the first two periods. We know they're good offensively. I thought we did well defensively. Obviously, they outshot us by a bunch, but I don't know if Belfast has been outshot all year, so we knew that was coming. We thought, we tightened up our D zone throughout the practice, and then, we get two penalty kills there at the end, and they burn us on those. And obviously, our main focus was stay out of the box against this team because we know how dangerous their power play was, and that came to bite us in the butt a little bit. But we also need to, bear down on our penalty kill.
Adam Keefe made a comment there about intensity. Was the intensity lacking, do you think, from the weekend?
It looked like it when you're watching the game on Saturday within the arena itself. I thought that, first of all, I actually thought the Clan played very well in both games.
Yes.
They went 2-0 down against us on Saturday, and they fought back again. Their power play was good at the weekend. I'm not sure of exact figures, but I think they got 4 goals over the weekend on the power play. But, it's one of those ones where a desperate team, if they get the effort and they put the effort in and they have healthy bodies, they've played injured and played short all season long. Colton Waltz came back only a few weeks ago. He played really well on Saturday night. I think we got man of the match on Saturday night. And when you get your goaltending and playing decent, and everybody says he's a backup, but backups in this league have been pretty decent this year as well. And I just thought that overall for the weekend, I thought we were pretty lucky to get through. If I'm being honest, yes, with a lot of shots, yes, with we scored more goals than they did, and that's the most important statistic that you take from all the games. But if they had went through, they could have caused real problems this weekend. Coventry did it. I think it's probably 5 or 6 years ago. They were finished 8th in the league, and they went on to win the playoffs. Anybody can win the playoffs. Nottingham, we all thought that Guildford were going to beat Nottingham last weekend. And we've got to get Nottingham now, which again we'll go on to touch on later in the show. But this isn't over yet. There's a lot of any one of these 4 teams that have gone through from this past weekend can win this championship, and for us to have a chance to win, then we need to be a hell of a lot better than what we were at the weekend. The boys know that. Adam knows that. The coaches know that, and they know that. At the end of the day, we just scraped through. Maybe a little bit more comfortable than what we were last year against Coventry on the shootout. But we got it done. And I was talking to Davy yesterday, and when it looks at the history books, will basically look down the line. They'll go Belfast qualified to go through. That was the target. That's what happened, but it wasn't pretty.
The Dyson Stevenson made up comments both before the game and at the fact that Davy, that they felt that maybe they'd been in through the season a little bit disrespected, and that they felt they had a point to prove. Personally, I felt that they proved it.
I don't know that any team was disrespected. I think all teams, you got to play what's put out in front of you. I think the Glasgow Clan have been a club in turmoil for a number of years, and the stuff that's going on off the ice has to end up being a distraction for players. It doesn't matter, you can be as professional as you want to be, but when that stuff's going on off the ice, it's got to affect the locker room. And at certain times we spoke to players that are in that locker room through the season. They've said as much themselves. So difficult season for them. And as we said earlier, they were really battling towards the end of the season with Fife there just to get into that 8th slot. And it's always going to be difficult coming up against the number 1 team in the country who've proved themselves over 60, 70 games this season as being the team to beat. And for me, Clan did bring what ultimately was their A game over the weekend, and it just wasn't quite enough to come up against us.
I've got one more question for you both, but before that, we also have Scott Conway just waiting to join us. But before that, I'm just going to get the comments from Sunday from both coaches.
Yeah, that's a really good team over there, and we had a long year, and guys could have folded seeing who we played, and our one goal was just believe, and I thought we did a really good job of that as a team. Everyone believed that we had a chance. Yesterday, hurt us a little bit, giving up some penalty kills, but we win tonight, but unfortunately just not enough. But yeah, everyone gave it their all. That's all you can ask for, and I don't think we had much respect from anyone in the league the whole year, and if this doesn't gain respect from teams, I don't know what will.
Yeah, they were very good. We knew coming into this, the Clan had faced a lot of adversity this season. They stuck together through it all. They were playing for each other, and that's a dangerous beast right there. And that's what you saw this weekend. I thought the Clan battled extremely hard, made it extremely hard on us, especially winning the league title last weekend, and then there's a collective exhale from that, and to get back up and push the on button and to get back into that playoff intensity is very hard. I think that's what you saw this weekend. We didn't match that intensity that the Clan had, but albeit there in the third period, I thought our guys competed very hard and wanted that, and even though when we gave up the one, still competed right there till the very end. There was a lot of battling, big save there at the end to give us that chance to see it out.
And with the 7-6 aggregate win, the Belfast Giants progressed to the semi-finals of the Viaplay EIHL Playoffs on Saturday against the Nottingham Panthers. We'll come to those sort of things later on. One thing just last from this was after I insulted him last week and said he was no spring chicken, a couple of days later, Craig Peacock announced that he would be retiring after 16 years professional in the league here, a 3-time Elite League champion, a playoff champion with the Belfast Giants. Says Peaks was a hell of a servant to this club and a hell of a servant to hockey in this country.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Davy's reports or stats every single week, his name's been sitting up at number 2 for a long, long time, and it's going to take a long, long time for somebody to step up and beat it. And you don't get that many points in this league and without being a good player. And Peaks was a good player, and don't get me wrong, he'll certainly know he's slowed down his production and slowed down his scoring touch on the last number of years. But when he was with us, he was absolutely lethal. 50 power play goals, Davy? Number 1 for in the are you sure?
No.
We'll check your stats. I think it's 50. I think it's 50 power play goals he had as Giants throughout his career, and that's number 1 overall. And he was potent, like he knew where the net was, and when you look at Jonathan Phillips retiring and obviously, Craig Peacock, he's only 34. He could probably still play, but he's probably, feeling it a bit more. And Matt Myers is not getting any younger. Mark Richardson. You've got all these top-end GB players that are going to be stepping out and stepping away from the international team over the next couple of years as well. And this is the time now they need to try and blood some new guys coming through. And that's no different with the top teams as well. Jonathan Phillips is going to be very hard to replace at Sheffield. Craig Peacock's going to be hard to replace at Glasgow. Our guys aren't getting any younger as well. And, Mark Garside, and I don't know when he's going to hang the skates up. Hopefully it's not for a couple of years yet. It's going to be very difficult to replace Mark Garside. So it is what it is. And, wish him the best of luck whenever he's down the line. I was speaking to him after the game on Saturday night. And I said that to him. I wish the best of luck down the line. But after tomorrow, which would have been Sunday, hope he's get pumped. But, he was good. Peak's a good lad. And as I say, best of luck moving forward.
He was also, Davy, a New Zealand Ice Hockey League champion, which I'm sure is quite high up in his...
New Zealand, I thought it was New Zealand or Australia. He was out there anyway. His career never really hit the heights that it hit. His career in Belfast was probably the pinnacle, if you like, of his domestic career. Simon's touched on the power play there. He used to just post up, to use a basketball term, post up at that back post there, and he scored so many goals from just in and around the blue paint. And he was a great servant to the club. 6 or 7 years maybe he played for us, and he won championships, and he came in that first year with Dowdy and Shades and stuff, that British contingent we had there, and they were scoring for fun. And after he left Belfast, he went and he had a few years obviously in Scotland there, and he's been a great servant to those clubs as well. But he's been very good to us always at AVFTB. I remember some great interviews around the time. He got in a bit of bother towards the end of one season as well, and he used AVFTB as a little platform to put his little apology, if you like, out there. But he was always good to us. He's been a great servant to British hockey. He's been a great servant to the EIHL, and we wish him really well in the next chapter of his career.
Absolutely. Congratulations to Craig Peacock on a fantastic career. Right, let's crack on, gents. We've got the first of many guests, but we're delighted to be joined by a man who last Monday walked away with some very sore arms, considering the amount of awards that he carried out of the SSE arena after what has so far been a phenomenal season in Teal. Delighted to welcome back to View from the Bridge, Scott Conway. How do you, mate?
Good. A little tired, but pretty good here.
How was your golf?
Not good. It was pretty windy. So
is that not fixed?
Is that better?
You've got your screen on lock.
You must have a screen on lock.
Hang on. Here we go. I'm trying to figure this out for you guys.
There we go. There we go. There it is.
There we go.
Where did you play?
Port Stewart. We only got 9 holes in because of the rain and wind. It was terrible.
Strand course?
Yes.
Fantastic, man. I'm looking forward to playing that in the summer.
There's a bit of a difference. First of all, there's a bit of a difference. He's a good golfer. You're just as.
Excuse me. You've never played.
There could be some. Was it Castle Rock you played last week?
Yes, sir.
What did you hit like Castle Rock?
I don't remember. That was a few weeks ago. I can't remember yesterday. So I think it was like 78 or something like that, though.
All right, you are a better golfer than me. So there we go. Give us your take on the weekend gone past, Cons. Obviously, we went into the games against first versus eighth, and there has been a talk about maybe there was a lack of intensity.
Yeah, I think we started off the first home game pretty well, getting up 2 goals. And then penalties, we knew they were good on the power play, and they have been recently. So our goal was to stay out of the box. It's pretty hard for me to stay out of the box. So I promised Keith for only 1 penalty a game, and I was in it 1 a game. But their power play was firing on all cylinders, and we had to stay out the box, and we knew that. And so that cost us a few goals this weekend. And then when you go into their place and you're up a couple goals, you knew that they were going to play their hearts out. That's potentially their last game of the season. So we had to give it our all, and they gave it their all. They emptied the tank, and they were hitting everyone hard and just putting pucks to the net. They're playing the playoff style hockey, and that's what that team is. You got the Dyson Stevensons, you got Dixon that's heavy on draws. You got guys that go to the paint. You got Joneses that'll stick you and stuff like that. So I think that team was kind of built for a playoff push there. But I'm glad that we won, and glad we're moving forward. We're excited to play Nottingham. I think there's going to be a good rivalry between with Jonesy and us, and we're excited for it.
When you're up against a team like the Clan, who let's be fair, they've got nothing to lose there. They've finished in 8th. They're not expected to come away with the win. People were talking about walkovers when the Giants were going to face them this weekend. How difficult is it when their backs are against the wall and they have nothing to lose, but you're going after them? Yeah,
I mean, you start off a season. Well, I don't know what it was. You guys are the stat guys, like 0-25 or whatever it was. For them to turn it 0-17, for them to turn their season around and make playoffs is just the hats off to those guys. And then on top of that, like you said, they're not fighting for any other trophy but this one. So it's pretty hard to knock someone out of any sport to end their season. So they give it their all this weekend, and I'm glad we're moving forward.
Collins, I want to ask you about the personal accolades, about the personal points, and I know you'll go with the team first, and very few of the goals were unassisted. Somebody has to put it on your stick to score, but coming up with nearly 120 points so far this season, all those great awards that you took home, you must be pretty pleased with your personal contribution this season.
Yeah, I'd say I am. All I can do is do the best I can when I step on the ice, and that's what I try to do. Obviously, teammates are a big help and stuff like that. You can't do it without them, but a successful year for me for sure. Hopefully we can get a few more goals and assists the next couple games here and bring home that 3rd trophy.
And let's just talk very, very briefly about the weekend that's coming. I'll go on to it as well here, but you heard Adam talk about, we talked about it last week, the collective exhale. You've heard that term before. It happens after because it's a 54 game slog, the league to win it. It's the big one to win. The playoffs is 2 weekends. But it's hard to turn it on and turn it off again, or turn it off and turn it on again.
Yeah, I mean, everyone plays for that league trophy, right? So now that we won that, it's like, but firing it back up this weekend was kind of tough. I think you could see it in our gameplay a little bit. So moving on to that final weekend is huge for us. Just knowing that we're 2 wins away from that third trophy, and like I think Coach said before, not many times it's done. Was it one time, Nottingham? Was it 10 years ago? So
Nottingham and Coventry have both done it, but
and Cov, yeah. So not many times it's done before. So we're excited to try getting the history books there.
Cons this weekend, Nottingham. It's going to be in their own building. We talk about. You talk about the likes of our home games for the Guildford game, which we had a sellout crowd, but a sellout crowd for the big game in the cup final. And when you've got those numbers behind you, it does make you feel that just maybe an inch or two taller, and makes you feel that you can go in and perform. And they'll have a big backing this weekend as well. It's a tough building to go into, but I'm sure you'll be well up for it and well looking forward to the challenge.
Yeah, we're excited to play Jonesy and Nottingham for sure. They do, I think, have a little bit of an advantage since they play there all the time, and we're excited for the challenge. I think fans do have a major part in a game, especially if they're nice and loud, which I think Nottingham always is. We have experience coming back in that rink, and we've always played close games against those guys. So it's gonna be a good game, that's for sure, and we're looking forward to it.
Patrick.
Oh, sorry. I'm too busy trying to deal with other stuff. You've mentioned Jonesy twice there. Is it a big thing? Obviously, he started the season with us. We brought Besco in. He made the decision he was going to move to Nottingham Panthers. But there's still, you've seen him in training. You've seen him. There's still that determination to get after him.
Yeah, I mean, always when it's especially a goalie, when a goalie leaves and you play against him, it's like, we got to light him up. So I'm excited to play him. He's a great dude too. So excited to see him again and see what we can do against him.
We have also. I'm just trying to find. There was a question came in there for you, which was from Kevin Madden, which is: are you happy with your individual performance this year, or are you still hungry for more?
My answer is I'm never satisfied. But I was getting out there and who knows how to 5-10 posts this year. I could have had 5-10 more points this year, or goals for that matter. But that's how it goes. You never know. If you're an inch to the left, it could go in, an inch to the right. So I think next year, following it, you got to shoot a little lower, because all I hear is Kitschy on the broadcast. Oh, Conway over the net again. Conway gets wide. I'm like, God dang it, Kitschy.
No, but you're just trying to hit the crossbar the way I do with Coops on a Saturday morning.
Oh, ice burner, buddy.
I'm still 4 up.
One question I have, Collins, before Paddy closes this down. Maybe not everybody's seen the interview we did the night we won the league. Back in, might have been October time, our first visit to Guildford. I asked you this question a couple of weeks ago. You were getting absolute pelters. We got defeated on the night. It was the first night in that barn for a lot of our guys, and we didn't start the game well. We actually played pretty well the night after the first 5 minutes, but we came away with a loss, and the home fans were absolutely on us as you came off the ice. And I was just at the entrance to the locker room, and you were one particular guy, and you said, I'll see you in March. I'll see you in April.
I'll see you at the end of the season. See you at the end of the season.
If he's watching, got a little message for him.
Yeah, I told you so. Never count us out, and don't count your chickens before they hatch, because it came around to bite you in the butt. But I knew it. I knew we were going to be there. I knew it was going to be a close race. I did think that Guildford was going to choke a little bit towards the middle of the season, but they kept it strong, and they gave us a good run for our money. It's good to see them out though, because they're a fast team and they can do some damage in playoffs. So that's good to see for us.
We'll be taking on the Nottingham Panthers on Saturday. Cons, listen, fantastic season from yourself once again. Congratulations on yet another Elite League title, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Big thanks to Scott Conway for his time. Listen, the guy's been phenomenal this season. He's been lights out as we expect him to be. He was brilliant last season, and it's great, Davy, to see a British player of that standard and leading the league as he has.
Forget the British part, just for a player of this standard. We'll have Ellis coming on, John Phillips coming on, other killer. You can ask them all. Scott Conway is the MVP of this league. There's absolutely no doubt about it. What he's done, the manner of play, the manner he goes about his play. He's as tough as a night in jail, as Aaron Murphy would say as well. Me and Simon have talked about it. He's not even sneaky tough. He's just tough. He goes into the corners. He blocks shots. He makes hits. He scores goals. Big assists. He's good in the special teams. He's got a little bit of everything. We've been really blessed to have him for 2 seasons. Let's hope we have him for more.
Says good guy and a good guy about.
He's a pain in the arse.
You were going to say
he's lethal, mate. I mean, he's absolutely lethal, both on and off the ice. I mean, obviously Saturday night, I remember him coming out of the locker room after the 4-2 win against Glasgow, and he wasn't happy. And you could see that I think he scored 1 on Saturday, didn't he? Or did he score on Saturday?
I don't think he
scored.
He scored 2 on Sunday.
Oops, Norrie. Great setup.
And you could see that he wasn't happy with the way the game went, and he's just a winner. He just wants to win. And I've seen a comment there on the one of the messages coming through from some guy called Jason Ellery, saying about him playing pool as well. He's lethal. He's absolutely lethal. Whatever he's playing, he makes it into a competition. He just wants to win. And Davy's touched on it. We've been very, very lucky to have a player of his caliber in Belfast Giants for 2 years. He's been absolutely outstanding this year. And I said it from probably about October, November time. He is the best in this league by a country mile this year.
He's been brilliant. Right, let's crack on, gents. As I said, the Nottingham Panthers will be probably an unexpected opponent come Saturday at 3 p.m. at the NIC. They defeated the second seed Guildford Flames over the 2 legs, including what was an absolutely cracking game at the NIC where the Panthers took a 4-1 lead in the tie. I'm delighted to be joined by an old friend of ours, is the media manager for the Nottingham Panthers, Chris Ellis. How are you doing, mate?
How are we doing? I forgot this was on camera. I'm in my PJs.
Yes! Welcome to the show, mate.
Look at you. Listen, you're sporting your merch, and I'm here in my PJs.
You've had a long day at the water park, I believe. So it's time to
Alton Towers Water Park. That's been a long day. I can tell you.
Alton Towers Water Park's good crack. I like that one where you go. Do you know the one you get on the float and it goes right across the top? Good crack.
Yeah, anyway. I didn't get on that. My kids are 11 and 8. And they didn't want to go on. Actually, no, my daughter went on. She's 11. She did go on, but my son didn't want to go on, so I never got to go on. But no, it's great. We had a great day.
Enjoyed there. Listen, I said that the Nottingham Panthers are probably unexpected fourth team in this final 4. They will face the Giants at 3 p.m. on Saturday. Is that fair?
I think to everybody looking on from afar, I think that's 100% fair. No one at the club would say anything different. It's been a dreadful season, absolutely horrendous season. It's not gone right. We could probably sit here and talk for hours the reasons why it's not gone right. But the truth is that they finished 7th and they deserve to be a 7th place team. I think the one thing was, and I've said this a few times this weekend, is Panthers have been waiting for that game for weeks. They've been waiting for that game for weeks and weeks and weeks because, the season was over a long time ago. And that was their next chance. The amount of times we heard in the week leading up to it, it's a new season, it's a new game. And they played like that the way they came out in those first 10, 15, 20 minutes against Guildford, they set the tone in that first leg, which they pretty much continued, albeit for a very nervy start in the second leg. But yeah, fair credit to Guildford. They've had a tremendous season, and I think they went in as favourites. But you never count away a Corey Nielsen team in the playoffs. And he's and a lot of the fans didn't believe. I mean, that was true. You could see that by the comments. But Nielsen got the team up for it. The team responded, and they're there.
You'll be expecting something similar then this Saturday, Chris. As you say, don't discount Corey Nielsen's in the playoffs. His playoff records literally second to none, and home advantage as well is going to be a big thing for you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we are coming up against the best team in the league. There is no doubt about that by a country mile as well. No one's come close since Christmas, but between Belfast and anyone close, as we've seen from the results. But Nottingham will fancy themselves. I mean, ironically, our record against the Giants this season's been okay. There's been a couple of wins, I think, hasn't there been on home ice, one in the Challenge Cup, one win in Belfast as well. I think Nottingham, while everyone again looking from outside will think it's going to be Belfast Giants because of the seasons the two sides have had. It's one game. Nottingham have got some players who have probably struggled this season in the last few games. They actually, funnily enough, you may find this funny to say this, but they started to set the tone in the game against Manchester, which I know Panthers lost in overtime, but they came out so hard in that game. Barely had a defenseman. Matthew Myers ended up playing defense for the first time in his career at some points. And I just felt that they went hard in that game and then tired and lost in overtime. It's a tough task for the Panthers. But yeah, the fans have started to believe again after what they saw at the weekend.
You have a guy in Nottingham now who used to be we used to call him a friend. I think this is the 9th time we play Panthers this season, and this is the 9th time he's dinged the podcast off. Have you seen the hide and seek champion of the East Midlands lately?
Who are we talking about?
Omar Pasha.
Omar Pasha, yeah, he's a tough man to track down. That is for sure. He's turned you down all these times.
Well, I think he spent 15 minutes on the phone to Paddy apologising yesterday, but he said, it'd get somebody more important than him on anyway.
Well,
but
See, this is why I got the call, because I got a WhatsApp saying you'll get a call. So I'm quite happy to be number 2 to Omar Pasha. There you go. That's it. So you spoke to him at 2:34.
You're on mute, Paddy.
I was sorry. I realized I was on mute there. Yeah, 15-minute conversation yesterday, but no. He says Chris Ellis is the man you need to speak to. So,
to be fair, he is a busy man. I mean, he's if anyone's hurting the most in the organization, it's Omar Pasha. I don't think he envisaged when he made that trip from Dundee that he would end up having a worse season for the Panthers than last season, which was pretty dreadful. So he's been hurting very, very much this season. But he always believed, he's a very optimistic fella. And he believed, and look now, Panthers are 2 games away from winning a trophy.
You can understand why we want them on after this season, wouldn't you?
Say that again.
You can understand why we'd want them on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what more do you want to do than take the mick out of some Nottingham Panthers people? I understand that. But yeah, look, it's not gone great. But as I said before, Corey Nielsen's team in the playoffs is a dangerous team. And he inherited a team that wasn't his team. It was Gary Graham's team. And okay, the results haven't gone as expected in any way, shape, or form. But they're there. As I said, that David Levin is scoring goals for fun. He's absolutely on fire at the moment. Tanner Sorensen bagged a couple at the weekend. You know all about the netminder who had 3 shutouts before he came to the Panthers, and to me looked like a decent goalie. What obviously Kiefer did was went out and went even better. Do you know what I mean? And went out and got the best. I mean, would you have won the league with Peyton Jones? Probably. Who would know? He's a damn good netminder and has played really well for the Panthers this season. So it's going to be crazy, isn't it? Current netminder for the Giants against the guy you got rid of just after Christmas.
Ellie, you talk about, teams underestimating the Panthers in the playoffs. I can assure you the Giants won't be doing that this weekend. Adams had the boys in the room today. They're on the ice again tomorrow morning. They're going to be preparing for battle on Saturday against the Panthers. We all know that, we're all expecting a tough game for sure. And it could come down to special teams and the battle of the goalies between Besco and Jonesy. What's your thoughts process on it at the minute? Obviously, you've been there looking all glum all season long. which we've been absolutely loving, by the way. But what's your thought process for this weekend?
It's a tough one. I mean, as I said, Panthers are coming in against the best team in the league, and I don't know. It's on home ice. They're in familiar surroundings. I'm not going to stick my neck out and say, Panthers are going to win. Do I think they could win? Of course they can. As you say, it could come down to special teams. It could come down to netminders. Could come down to the odd mistake here or there. What I do know is Corey Nielsen will be rubbing his hands, and Rick Strachan, to pit their wits. They know that they've, got a chance to win some silverware in what's been a really tough season. Nielsen and Kiefer, GB buddies as well. That's a little thing to throw into the mix. They love going up against each other. Of course, the Panthers can win. They're beating the Giants, 3 times this season, I think, off the top of my head.
Yep.
3 times in 8 matches, something like that. Of course they can win. The league game earlier in the season, Panthers, I think it was 5-2 off the top of my head, something like that. Absolutely phenomenal. The Challenge Cup first leg came from 2 down to win it 3-2. Second leg didn't go so well, did it? But yeah, I mean, the Panthers, I think, can pull off a surprise. I think they like the fact that they went into the weekend that no one believed in them. I mean, the guys, I'm not going to lie here. The criticism has hurt players and hurt them badly this year. They see the criticism, and it's been tough for them. As we, you guys know, when the Giants have a bad year, it feels like it's been a long time since that happened. But it's tough, and they feel it too. And they had some real lows. I mean, when they lost to Manchester at home and followed that up with a defeat to Dundee at home, it was probably the lowest point of the season. Booed off the ice. But yeah, I think they knew at the back of their heads they were building for this moment, and they'll be very confident now that they've got a bit of form, bit of momentum, and they've got this finals on the home ice.
There's somebody called Jason Ellery has put a comment on the questions here, asking, with your PJs on, do you still have matching socks?
I have matching socks today. Yeah, I think he's seen me with bad matching socks. You can tell him I've got my GB slippers on though.
He'll look forward to that, man. I know he's looking forward to seeing you soon. Davy will love them too.
yeah.
Davy probably has a pair. He's got his socks. Listen, Ali, we really, really, really appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us, even if you are in your pajamas. We do appreciate you coming on. Look forward to seeing you this weekend, and not going to wish the Nottingham Panthers any luck though. So
that's fine. Look forward to seeing you guys.
Thanks, mate.
The weekend.
See you later.
All right.
Big thanks to Chris Ellis for joining us and giving us a lowdown on the Nottingham Panthers. Right, we're cracking on, gents, because
top lad.
We do have lads waiting in the wings. We're next up. It's the Sheffield Steelers, and we're delighted to be joined by a man who's going into his final weekend of domestic ice hockey for the Sheffield Steelers. It's a pleasure to be able to invite him on. He's also the captain of Team GB, where he is known to give quite a good team talk.
We want to stay amongst the world's elite. One hockey game, 60 minutes. For that, let's have a listen to John. Take it to these guys. Come on, boys. Well,
of course, Jonathan Phillips. How are you doing?
How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for joining us. What are the emotions going into your final week of domestic hockey?
Yeah, it's obviously something that's going to be a lot different. It's obviously all I've known since I left school. But I think first and foremost, I'm just kind of grateful that I managed to find something out of hockey and find something I was passionate in and can hopefully build on, really.
You've been received really well since you announced that you were going to finish with hockey. You've been received really well at rinks throughout the league. It must be humbling to see how well thought of you are by opposition fans and teams.
Yeah, it was crazy, to be honest. Glasgow, Manchester, what they did down in Cardiff. I was really surprised. I think especially down in Cardiff, because when I was there, it was 2 ice rinks ago. It was when it was the old rink, old rink in the city centre. So it's pretty much a complete new fan base down there now. So No, I think it's always really nice, isn't it, when things like that happen, and I was really kind of grateful for the praise that they kind of showed me.
John, it's actually been quite emotional watching. Like it's not been a long goodbye, but it kind of started in Belfast there a number of weeks ago. You got the Man of the Match award. You're skating around. Our captain's the first one over, and then the guys start lining up. Is that emotional for you as well?
Yeah, I mean, because with all the games, I haven't been counting down, we've got, 5 games left, 2 games left, whatever. I've just tried concentrating on the season. But I think the times I've been reminded of it are situations like that when, especially because we don't shake hands anymore at the end of the game. So when Goody and all that kind of came over, that was, I was shocked and it was unreal. And Peaks up in Glasgow did the same thing, and we did that against Manchester the other night. So yeah, I think that's where it starts to hit home a little.
Jono, I asked Neil Francis, he was on a couple of weeks ago with us. There must have been something special in the water down in South Wales, 20-ish years ago. I don't want to give away your full age here, but all those years ago, Matt Mars and Jason Wood, Stevie Lyle, yourself, all these youngsters, it was a hotbed for British talent. And thinking back, that the longevity that you've had over the years, you must have been very lucky with the solid work base you had from that young age.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is just me guessing, but I think a big key to our success down there was back then. The Devils used to train us when we were kids, and they'd come on all the junior sessions. And I think there's some great coaches around now within the junior game, but they haven't necessarily played. And so I think for the imports and the bigger players like Chinny and Stoney and that to come on and give us those little tips and hints when we were kids, it massively helped our game. And I think a lot of it is down to that, because you're right, that there were a lot of us who came through back then.
I seen a video come up on my timeline earlier on. I'm not too sure when it was posted, of your 2 sons, and I think it was your wife in between them. And somebody was interviewing with their Steelers jerseys on, and they were saying that they wanted to play for somebody bigger. Like Levi Nelson was one of their favorite players, and Matt Petrie was the other. Obviously it must be good for you as well to see them following up in your passion as a youngster.
Yeah, no, they love it. They play, and they've just been selected for the England program. So, I think we finally started seeing all the costs that my mum had to incur when I was younger. But yeah, they love it. I mean, they've grown up down the rink and coming into the changing rooms and things like that. And I think that is one thing to really look forward to is seeing them play more and being more involved in their training to try and help them out as much as I can.
It's hard to believe that the Belfast Giants have never played a season when Jonathan Phillips wasn't playing in the either the ISL or the league kids. Like from our point of view, we've been around as long as as you've been playing at the top level, which is absolutely remarkable. And what would you see as the key for you to have that longevity?
I think for me, it was. I knew that there was. I mean, let's be honest. There's no real money involved in UK hockey. It was never about money. It was something that I absolutely loved from the first second I saw. When I went to see a Devils match at 8, I think I was. My mum signed me up to the team for my 11th or 12th birthday. And I just loved it, and I think that competitiveness. I always wanted to compete with myself and push myself as hard and as far as I could go. And I always said that as long as I'm enjoying what I'm doing, then I'm going to keep going for as long as I could. And I know I could play for another 3-4 years, but an opportunity came knocking. So yeah, I think I just love the game so much.
Jono, I want to take you away from the domestic game into the international scene. Obviously, just a number of years ago, this happened in Belfast. This is one of our, good memories of Jono Phillips on Belfast ice. Describe the emotions of being the captain of the team that wins the gold medal on home ice.
Yeah, I think that was an interesting year, to be honest, because we were on kind of thin ice, I think, where we'd kind of failed to get gold and go up. We've always been an older team, an older core, and if we didn't win that year, then for sure there would have been changes, and rightly so, to be honest. So we knew we had to win gold. It was now or never. But I mean, the GB team is by far the most special thing I've ever been a part of. It's very rare that you get 20 odd guys all rooting in the same direction, all with the same work ethic and the same mindset. And we've been through thick and thin, and the last kind of 5, 6, 7 years is really kind of I think we've really been rewarded and got what we deserved. And I think to play in the Pool A World Championships against Canada, America, Russia, Sweden, all them absolute giants. It was dreams come true for us all.
Let's take you away from that and let's focus on the present. There are still games to be played, Jono, and this weekend you'll take on those Cardiff Devils in the semi-final of the playoffs. It's been an interesting season for the Sheffield Steelers, trying to battle once again for a league title, maybe falling away at a point when obviously you didn't want to. But coming into this weekend, what are you expecting from the Devils, and how do you feel you're sitting as a team?
I think right now, I think we had a good weekend. Playing Manchester is obviously anything that can happen in Manchester. We knew it'd be a different game on the big ice as soon as we got home. But that's a very good team this year with a lot of skill. I think they've beaten all of the top 4 at some point this year. So I think to come through that weekend, playing a full kind of 120 minutes, we were happy. We're having a fun week so far, coming into next weekend, and we've just got to embrace what the weekend is by far the funnest weekend of the year. An opportunity to go into the summer a champion, and I think whoever you face is going to be an absolute battle. But I think us in Cardiff have been pretty much tied all season long, so it's going to be interesting. And just them old cliches, I really do think for all 4 teams, of whoever makes the least amount of mistakes will advance through to the final, where anything can happen.
Why is it the funnest weekend of the year?
I just think it is something different, isn't it? It's not the typical kind of series that the North Americans are used to playing. The knockout games is, you've got all the fans from all over the country in one building, either booing you or cheering you. Is one of the best atmospheres there, and it's just a buzz the whole weekend. And I was, as a kid, I used to go to Wembley and watch the Devils play, and it was something that I absolutely loved. So I think this weekend has always kind of been a little more special in my heart, because it was probably where my love for the game started.
Fantastic. Well, listen, we really appreciate you joining us tonight. Congratulations on what has been a phenomenal season and a phenomenal career. Sorry, I know a lot of people, as I say, we've watched you throughout and your time, especially here in Belfast, and we wish you well with the new opportunities in the future.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having us on.
No worries. A big thanks to Jonathan Phillips for his time. Absolutely, what a servant to Sheffield Steelers, a servant to British ice hockey. Davy, it's humbling that he took the time to join us, but it's fantastic that he's able to look back on what has been a stunning career.
You know me, Paddy. I don't like change. I don't deal with change well and these kind of things. And I texted Simon 2 minutes after the sort of handshakes in Belfast, going, "I'm sick. I'm near choked here, and what must Jono feel like in that situation?" I love to see the players realizing the respect that they're held in at that time, that people aren't having to wait 10 years down the line to go, or worse, people that, we have an awful habit of telling people how great they were after they've passed away. And I'm not saying that in the same kind of thing, but that people know how well respected they are in the moment is an absolutely great thing. And he's such a well-respected captain of his club and his country, and what he's done for British hockey over the last 20 some years. Like, since we've been watching the Giants since the year 2000, and you say there's never been a season where we haven't faced the John Phillips team. So, we wish him really well. It seems that this just came retirement after Jono, and then Lee Jamison and Peacock and all these greats that we've grown, our love for hockey has grown up around, and time change, and we're getting grey hairs, and some of us are getting no hair, but as time moves on, and you just have to thank these guys for what they've done, not for our team, but they've given us a great spectacle to watch over so many years. And you enjoy that tenacity he played the game with, and he's been a real great servant to that club.
Says we've got Todd Kelman just waiting in the wings here, and he's wondering when he's going to get his chance to come on. But just a quick word about Jono before we move on.
Listen, there's when you look around the leagues over the last 17, 18 years in the Elite League and the ISL before that, there's not many players that I would have really liked to have seen in a Belfast Giants uniform. And he was one of them. He was definitely one of those guys that I loved to play for the Giants. He's in the Ben Lake kind of mold with maybe not the same production. For me, he's a leader. He gets stuck in. He just never took a shift off. I loved his game. He always seemed to play well against Belfast. He always chipped in with a goal, important goal. I thought Jonathan Phillips has been a real massive plus for the Sheffield Steelers over the whatever length of time he's been there. And he'll be a big miss for not just the Steelers, but Team GBS and the league. Right the whole way throughout the league, he's been held in the highest regard. And as Davey touched on, seeing all these different players coming up and shaking his hand after games, have realised and show the respect that he deserves for sure.
Right, we've done the Sheffield Steelers, we've done the Belfast Giants, we've done the Nottingham Panthers. There's only one team left, and that is, of course, the Cardiff Devils. And once again, as we always are, we're very much delighted to be joined by the former Bracknell B, Todd Kelman. How you doing, mate?
How you doing, guys?
Thanks for waiting on us, mate. Appreciate it.
You're a dead.
Simon Cuisine.
That's Simon's French cousin, Simon Cuisine.
Simon Cuisine. Bonjour. Before we get stuck in, do you want to join in on the Jono Phillips love?
Yeah. Man, I feel like a bit of an idiot putting Simon Cuisine. I didn't know that actually would come up. I just thought that was that was the name you guys would see coming in the studio. No, Jono, I mean, it's one of those, it's a weird one because he's from Cardiff, and when I got here, you didn't realize, man, we really, as an organization, the Devils really let that one go. That was obviously before my time, but, you guys, exactly what you said. It kind of timestamps you when you think of Jonathan Phillips. What a stat. I don't know which one of you guys said it. There's never been a season of the Belfast Giants without Jonathan Phillips playing against him. That's incredible. And yeah, it's sad. It's sad. He's not just an opponent. He's kind of because he's the GB captain. I think we all sort of have this affinity to Jonathan Phillips. Whatever team you're on, when GB rolls around and we're all cheering for the national team, you're always a Jono fan. So it's sad, that's for sure.
This guy.
Here's my one fight, hey?
Is that a picture of Todd Kelman fighting Jonathan Phillips?
No, it's not, is it?
Is it? Who's that fight against there, Davey?
I'll let Todd tell you who he's fighting there.
I honestly don't know. Is that maybe I'm fighting Nigel Boniface? I would have loved to.
That's the very well known Elite League All-Star Simon Butterworth.
I picked him. How do you guys how do you dig this stuff up? I love it.
Davey sent me that picture. I thought it was you fighting John Phillips. I thought, oh, here we bring this in.
I think John would have got me. He was so strong. Do you know what's interesting? If you guys, I don't know if you remember this, Patty, but for my testimonial, Dave Matsos was supposed to play it, and he was the one that dragged Jonathan Phillips to Sheffield originally, right? And Matty called me maybe, I don't know, a couple days before, and he said, listen, I can't, because of my neck injury, I can't actually play in the game, but I'll come across. But I said, oh, that's no problem, but we don't have a lot of guys. And I said, do you want to bring someone with you? And he said, yeah, I'm going to bring this kid, Jonathan Phillips. I brought him from Cardiff. And I was like, oh yeah, I know who that guy is. I don't know him at all. I've never talked to him. And he said, oh, he's a really good kid. I'll bring him across. We'll hang out. So we hung out with him, and Jono and me and Maddie and Paul Cruz hung out for the testimonial. And then before the game, we said, what are we going to say? Like, why is he playing in the game? And we said, let's say he's your childhood best friend. So like, bear in mind, I think I'm like 9 years older than him. But yeah, so when we announced it said, and whatever number he was, number 20, Todd Kelman's childhood best friend, Jonathan Phillips. And that was what he was announced at my testimonial. So, so I'm dating myself, but he's such a good guy. And yeah, one that definitely got away from Cardiff for sure.
What's been your assessment of the Cardiff Devils this season? Before we go into talk about the Final Four, what's been your assessment of how the Devils? Because obviously you've had a rookie coach coming in that did very, very well, DuPont, in winning the playoffs last season, him, Franny, and but coming in a new season with him, maybe not the finishing position, certainly not the finishing position you would have wanted, but overall, when you look back at this season before we get this weekend, how would you think of it?
Well, I think you guys know me. I'm disappointed if we don't win it every year, and just like you guys would be. So I wouldn't say it's, I wouldn't say it was a great season for us. I think like there were moments when, I think at one point we were probably tied with you guys, and you made some changes, and you kind of left us in the dust, and we finished with probably a 500 record since February onwards. So, we finished with, a disappointing end to what could have been a really good season, I think. Like, it's not a bad thing when, a fourth place finish is disappointing, because it means your expectations are high from a fan base, from an ownership, from a management point of view. But, I think Brody's done a really good job. I think we had some injuries that kind of let us down to key guys. Sam Jardine and Jay Kugler was tied with Cole Sanford for goals. When he got injured, he was out for 3 months, or just over 3.5 months, maybe. That didn't help. But it is what it is. That's hockey. Like, everyone has their injuries, and everyone has their sad stories about why they didn't win it. But the reality is, Belfast, you guys were the best team this year by a mile, and you deserve to win. So it doesn't really matter where you finish, second, third, fourth. It's, like, for me, if you don't win it, the next big thing is just trying to get to the Final Four. Like, I like, nothing against Guildford. Guildford had a tremendous season, but I'd rather finish fourth and be in the Final Four than finish second and not be in the Final Four, So,
Killer, let's talk about the Final Four. I was talking to Franny, it was either yesterday or the day before. 16 out of 18 EIHL seasons, the Cardiff Devils have made that Final Four. And obviously the last, 3 finals, you've taken home the gold. It's, as you say, if you can't win the 54-game slog, you want to finish. You want to be going home over the summer, as John O'Phillips, I think, was, or maybe it was Ellie, I can't remember who said, about being champion over the summer. Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of the great equalizer. You know what I mean? Like, if you win it, I mean, think of it like, what if the Nottingham Panthers win the playoffs? Probably their most no, but seriously, what if they pull off a miracle and they somehow beat you guys and somehow beat someone in the final, and they salvage what is probably the worst Panther season in 20 years, right? And that's the reality of what could happen, and that's and everyone thinks that, right? Like, I mean, everyone going into the playoffs, like even Coventry had a phenomenal season this year, and I think everyone probably I mean, I think everyone probably, all of you guys probably thought Coventry was going to roll over us. I think there's a lot of our fan base that thought we were going to get rolled over by them. And
I didn't.
Well, thank you, Simon. I appreciate that. But I think like if there was ever a season where we were worried about the quarterfinals, it was this. Like they had a great season. They had our number all season. I think we played them 10 times. They beat us 6 times, and they beat up on us the last couple of times. They beat us 6-0 and 4-2 or something like that. But anyways, it is the great equalizer. And I kind of like it. Like I know what John was saying about it's different than any other competition. You know, North Americans coming over here are still getting used to this whole 4-game playoffs. But like if you went to university, this is the national championship. You know, me and Thorts always talk about it. It's like it's the national championship. Like to win the national championship in NCAA hockey, you win 4 games, right? That's all you win. Mm-hmm. And that's what this is. You know, it's the playoffs. Yeah, it's 4 games. Yeah, we would all love to be playing playoff hockey, 7-game series. The reality is, like, British fans, they have to understand it's never going to happen. We just don't have the facilities. We don't have the fan base. Like the diehards, like in Belfast, you might have 500 or 1,000 people that would come to every game, and tickets go on sale after game 5 for 2 nights later. And you sell but it's not like the NHL where tickets can go on sale. You're going to sell 20,000 seats in 24 hours. Like the reality is it doesn't work like that for us. And what people don't understand is our playoffs are every single Saturday, Sunday night. You know, like I'd much rather have from a business standpoint, our game 7s are every weekend. And you know, like you think of Denmark or Norway, these teams, they might play in front of half empty buildings until the playoffs. And it's great if you go on a run and you make it to the finals, but lots of teams lose out in the first round and they play 2 extra home games, and people talk about the playoffs, but I'd rather sell, you know, like, look at the crowds you guys have had this year every weekend, you know, every weekend is a game 7 for you guys. So I love it. I love the competition, that the league's the big one. I love that the playoffs are kind of the caps off the season, but yeah. And that's what's so great about, like, there's 4 teams, anything could happen, you know. We could play terrible and get crushed by Sheffield. Sheffield could get crushed by us. It could go to overtime. You guys could lay an egg and lose to Nottingham. Like anything could happen, right? So that's what makes it interesting.
Todd, I mean, putting your EIHL hat on, last year was a bit of a challenge with regards to Sheffield and Nottingham not making the Final Four. You've got that back this year. Cardiff will bring big numbers with them. I think there's about 500 Giants fans heading over for it as well. You know, Nottingham's held it for the last, 16, 17 years. Is there ever going to be an opportunity that it'll go somewhere else to hold the Final Four weekend? I mean, I agree with you. I think the Final Four weekend is absolutely brilliant. It's an opportunity for 7,000-8,000 fans to get into one building and share their heart out for their own team while watching good hockey. Because the standard of hockey this year arguably has probably been down. I think the quality throughout the league's probably been down over the last number of years, but the standard that it is, we've been very, very lucky to watch a really, really good team this year. But I do think that the Final Four is the way forward. But is there ever going to be an opportunity to go somewhere else?
I honestly think there probably was, but I think I think it might be tied up for the next few years in Nottingham, anyways. But I think, like, if you think of the arenas that can host it, there's 3 arenas that can host it, right? It's Nottingham, Sheffield, or Belfast. Belfast, as much as it would be great for your fans, it's a logistic nightmare for other teams to get to. You couldn't get 1,000 fans from Sheffield, 1,000 fans from Nottingham. You just couldn't get enough people over there, right? I would love Belfast. Like, I mean, for when I was still there, I was trying to get the playoffs there, and me and Robert had sort of put together a plan to try to get it across there. But logistically, you know, you could maybe do it every 5 years there in Belfast or something, you know, rotate it around. Sheffield's an option. It's a bigger building, but, you know, the reason why it works in Nottingham is because, you know, it becomes that. I don't think it's the advantage that Nottingham used to have. Like, I think, you know, 10, 15 years ago, it was almost like, okay, Nottingham could finish 4th, and then they'd be going in the playoffs, sign a couple extra guys at the deadline, and they're probably going to win playoffs every year, you know? I like the setup. Lots of bars, lots of pubs, lots of restaurants, lots of hotels really close within walking distance. I mean, even Sheffield, like as much as it's bigger, I don't think it's as good a setup because the arena is not city center. Like, Nottingham has a really good setup, like as far as location, and it's the center of the country. You got all the fans from Sheffield can drive down on the day. All the Nottingham fans, like the two. Well, for years, I would say your fan base is bigger than Nottingham's now, but I would say for years and years, the league relied on Nottingham and Sheffield. And to be honest with you, it was a perfect storm in a negative sense last year. We screwed up as a league, and I've publicly said that numerous times that we screwed up by raising the prices so much, and we made people think, right? And on top of that, then you have Dundee eliminating Sheffield. But like we made people think in a time when costs were going up on everything, COVID had just hit, and we made people think. We said maybe like just for a moment, pause and wait to see if your team gets there. And that was our fault. We did that. And everyone paused and waited to see if their team got there last year. And now we've broken a habit. Whereas like you got like most fans, you wouldn't even worry about your team's season. It was just like Patty, you'd be like, I'm going to the playoffs. I don't care. I don't care if the Giants are there. I'm going to the playoffs.
Correct.
I'm booking it for the early bird price by the end of January. My flights are booked. My tickets are booked. My hotels are booked. I hope the Giants are there. I'm definitely there, but I hope the Giants are there. But if they weren't there, I mean, there were years there was probably more fun when your team wasn't there, And then we made them think. Last year we made them think, hey, you know what? I'll just wait. I'll wait till they come. And then they didn't make it. Sheffield didn't make it. Nottingham didn't make it. And then this year, like the teams that like people are like, oh my God, we still have, I don't know, we have 1,500 seats to sell, right? So everyone's like, oh, Nottingham and Sheffield will eat those tickets up. But it's not the Nottingham and Sheffield of the 1,500. The 1,500 are actually, Manchester used to bring 600 people, even if they knew their team wasn't there. Glasgow used to bring 600-700 people. Well, Glasgow will bring 200 this year because they're like, you know what? You made us think last year. You know what? My team's not going to be there. I'm not going to go. So that's where the 1,500. It's not, Belfast is bringing the same you always bring. You guys bring 400 or 500 that's all you can bring. That's all that can come across. It really is, right? Cardiff will bring 900 to 1,000, same as we always do. Sheffield and Nottingham will probably bring what they bring. It's going to be down to Glasgow and Manchester and Dundee and Fife because we made them all think it's our fault. It's going to take a couple of years to build that back up, build that trust back up, So
is there something there that maybe you're taking the opportunity with the league below doing the playoffs on the same weekend? Is there fighting over tickets for some guys going to Coventry instead of going to? Well, I think it's Coventry again this year instead of going to Nottingham.
I don't know. That's an interesting point. I've never actually. You know what? I actually wish that their weekend was the weekend before. Or the weekend after. Doesn't really, probably the weekend after would make more sense just because they don't have like the reason why we finish when we do is to accommodate.
It was supposed to be last year, but we moved to playoffs because of COVID.
Oh, okay. So was it usually the week after or
no? I don't think it was usually, but it certainly was. It certainly was the week after last year because when we moved it, there was a bit of a
okay. Yeah, because I think you're right. The average, like if you're a diehard fan and you're not kind of tied to one team, you might go to both. I think like if you're an elite league fan, you're always going to choose our league, and if you're an EIHL fan, you're always going to choose you're always going to go there. I think if it was over 2 weekends, you might get a few more, but I think like if I was a young player, I'd want it to be a different weekend than ours, like the weekend after, because guys like me would go watch it and see if there's any players that are available in that league, But yeah, no. I mean, I still love the event, whether there's 6,500, 7,000, or there's 5,000. It's going to be awesome. It's always a great weekend. It brings out the best in the fans. Like some of my best memories are like the Saturday afternoon. Patty, you did the live podcast a couple times in bunkers.
You did that up in bunkers upstairs.
You could barely walk a few times, but you somehow went on air. And
don't put a live podcast on at like 10 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday when I've obviously been out the night before.
No, but we've all had some great memories of the playoff weekend, whether we won them or lost. Like Simon, we were up in the box when the Giants won it that one year. You remember that up in 2010, going crazy, trying to get it down to the ice, and like some great memories there, and some horrible memories too. Losing in the final, losing to Nottingham on a couple bad calls. Some terrible memories, but I love it. Like me and Thorts will see each other on the Friday night, and then from Saturday on we're stressed. It's not a fun weekend when you're watching your team, until you win, until it's over. Cause like you feel like, I mean, it's horribly stressful. And I'll see Thorts at some point and both of us will be like almost shaking. We'll be like, why do we do this to ourselves? But then you think, what else would we want to do? It's so fun. You know, it's the best thing to be involved with. We all have so much skin in the game. We're so excited about it. And all of you guys are, and it's great. It's great. And it's great to have all the fan bases there. It's such a unique event. You know, it really is.
I do have a question. I'm going to follow, but I've got another Davy McGimpsey photograph to share. Going back to the conversation we just had. Look at the hair on Todd Kelman. Absolutely phenomenal.
Look at that.
There you have it.
Is that Packer?
It is, yes, from the testimonial. Yeah, absolutely, it is.
Paul Cruz, Reed Simonton representing all my buddies from home. Roddy Stevens is there. Paul Sample.
Wow. Who designed that top for you?
I think Rhino. I think it was the first Rhino jerseys I did.
It was good. I remember that now. It was a very good night.
That was a good logo back then, Simon. You probably did.
But the question I was going to ask about was the fact that the Belfast Giants are obviously going into this weekend as number one seed, going for a third time to try and get that final playoffs. But it's also the Belfast Giants haven't actually won the playoffs when Todd Kelman hasn't been involved in some way, both as a player in 2003, 20 years ago last week, and as a GM in 2010. From your point of view, which of those did you prefer? 03 or 2010?
You also got to remember Thorts was involved in both of those too.
In both of those, I was just thinking that as well.
You got that going for you. I think playing is always more exciting. I think different kind of stress. When we did it in 2003, if you guys remember the semifinal, it was 0-0 tie, and then Kevin Reel scored in that shootout goal to put us into the final, and then
battle of goalkeepers that was.
Yeah, and then Shane Johnson had the greatest game of his life with the 2 one-timer shots. My favorite game of hockey ever being involved in was winning that playoff final in 2003. We all knew the league was going to fold, like the Super League was going to fold after that. We all were old money going into that weekend. We hadn't been paid in about 6 weeks, and we all, decided to play regardless, whether we knew we were going to get paid or not. We just said, well, we're either getting the money or not getting the money. We won't know till next week, so we might as well play and try to win something and remember this. And then when we won it in 2010, it's a different stress because for Thorts, I think the weight of the world was on his shoulders because he was a player coach in 2010. But honestly, I don't know if I've ever been more relieved. Like when you see Chevry scored that shootout goal, man, I don't know. It just kind of like whenever you win something and you're in management, it just kind of like makes you think, okay, it was worth it. The everything you did all year, every late night and every time you skipped out on doing stuff with your friends or family and put hockey ahead of everything else like we always do, it's worth it then, and I think, Thorts and Kiefer have probably had that conversation numerous times over the last few years and this year already twice. And yeah, someone's gonna go home with a great summer. And you know what? It's one of those things like you win the playoffs. If it's us, if it's Sheffield, if it's Nottingham, one of us are just like, whew, we just salvaged a pretty, average or below average season for us. And if it's Belfast, it's the best team that's ever played for the Belfast Giants, So it's 4 very interesting stories. And I generally do think it's anyone's game. I really do. Anything can happen in the one-off semifinal,
It's such one more for me, Davey. Just before it's such an enjoyable weekend, and one other thing that pops into mind that you were strongly involved in was how the Belfast Giants fans were made aware in the stands that Steve Thornton would be taking over as coach. Do you remember that?
I do. Yeah, one of the more immature things I did, but
I remember it.
That's the list, Patty. Yeah, we handed out Thornton's chocolates because everyone knew about it. Everyone knew about it somehow. Honestly, the 2 times I hired him as a coach were 2 of the smartest hires we've ever done. Like Thorts to me is one of the smartest guys I know. And if he didn't love hockey so much, he'd be doing something phenomenal for the world because he's such a smart guy. I'm very happy that I'm so close to them, but you're very lucky to have him. very lucky to have him. So I wish, like it's unfortunate the way it happened, bringing him back this time, and then it just happened that I was coming to Cardiff, and it sort of all fell into place, and I didn't get that second chance to work with him again. But he's a great guy, and he's definitely the right guy to be leading your team, and he's done phenomenal things since he's been there. So
it was very nice. Thornton's chocolate. Sorry, David, go on.
Just on Steve Thornton, like his numbers with the Belfast Giants and all those banners. I think Sis said when we were hanging the banner last week, banner number 14 maybe. There's very, very few of those banners Steve Thornton hasn't had some part, player, GM, coach, a part of. But obviously you've still got a real soft spot for Belfast as well. We heard you on the microphone just in your own barn the other week, praising the Belfast Giants on the microphone.
I messaged Paddy after that. Oh man. And it was like, God, my fans were mad. God, they were mad.
When he came into Belfast at the doubleheader weekend, he was standing talking to Robert and Paul in Suite 23, and I walked in with a microphone and going, "Do you want to take over tonight? Here, you're doing it all over back in Cardiff."
Do you know what's ridiculous? I'm not even joking. It happens at least once a year. It's been 8 years or 9 years, however it's long it's been. It happens once a year. And what I do is I usually, if I'm playing you, it's the most likely to happen if I'm playing you guys. So I don't usually have to write the script down, but I write it down when I play you, which sounds ridiculous. But like, you get in your spiel and you just forget. And that night it was one of the last games of the season, and I flipped open my laptop because I don't look at the scores until I'm not one of those guys that checks the scores all throughout the game. And we lost, and I just flipped open the laptop and I was looking at your score against someone, and it just said like Belfast Giants. I can't even remember who you played, maybe Sheffield or something. You just won. And I was looking at my laptop and I just announced, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for tonight's, for your team, the home team, the Belfast Giants. And oh my God. And you can imagine what fans are saying on the forums, like, his heart's still in Belfast. He doesn't care about this team, blah, 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 blah. No wonder
we're finishing where we're finishing.
Yeah, no wonder we're finishing where we're finishing. He doesn't even care about us. So gone are the days when the Cardiff Devils fan base were just happy that we took over the team and had saved the franchise and blah blah blah. It turns quickly, It's but you know what, I love it. It's I'm joking around, but it is funny because it's just one of those things, right? They go from loving you to hating you to loving you, and that's just sport. I think people think that people always say like, oh man, social media, it's so harsh. Like if all you need is a little bit of thick skin to be on social media, like as in like read it, it's fine. Like people gotta stop thinking hockey players are so soft and really, if they can't take a little criticism on social media, Jesus, they're in the wrong job, aren't they? Like, remember, like it's just banter. Like people, first of all, anyone that's writing on social media and is actually that mad about it, what are you going to say to them? Like they're going to be mad about everything. They're going to be happy when you win. They're going to be sad. But like, you know what I mean? Like it's like the four of us, we used to go for a beer after and laugh and rip on guys. Now people just do it online. It's like toughen up. The world needs to toughen up a little. You can't all. It's the same people that's on one day a year they put the bell. Let's talk. It's be kind to be kind. Once a year, the be kind to be kind. The rest of the week, they're ripping on the crap out of other fan bases, making fun of them. Like that's the part I hate about sport. I just hate how fan bases are to each other. Like it's not the Olympics. We don't play each other every 4 years. We play each other every year. It's we've had.
It used to be the fact that you went to watching a game, you went to the pub with your mates, you had a bit of crack with them, and that was it. But now you're a fan 24 hours a day, and you're talking about the game 24 hours a day, and there's a facility to do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And well, that's a good thing or a bad thing. It has both sides, but
I think our crowds are benefiting. Our crowds are bigger because we like it used to be. How'd you get the word out? You'd have to hope for an article in the paper, or maybe put a billboard, or like think of how good Twitter is for like advertising. You want to do a ticket deal because you want to sell another 200 tickets. It's easy now. Like it's so easy. But then that same voice, people, like Sally 765 from Lisburn can rip the crap out of Tyler Beskorowany, and she has 3 followers, but one person retweets it, and the world spins out of control. Like we've had. I mean, some of the crap that's happened in the last few weeks, it's ridiculous. Like fan bases ripping on teams, and oh my God, it's just I get so embarrassed for people, and I mean, I actually got rid of my Twitter account to see how long it would notice for someone to notice I got rid of my Twitter account. Mark Brooks.
I only noticed it the other day. I went to tag you. Someone only noticed the other day.
About 9 months ago, Patty. And the only 3 months in, Mark Brooks picked up on it. He was the only one that besides anyone mentioning. And you know what? It's actually a good little thing to just get off there for a while, because, man, some people think that like their opinion actually matters. Like they think their 400 followers really need to hear their take on the power play that, you know, the Cardiff Devils had against the whatever Coventry Blaze. It's great to have an opinion. I'm all for like buying a ticket and you have your opinion and stuff, but like, man, you got sometimes like I don't care. Nobody cares, you know. Like it's
like last week. I learned last week. Somebody told me for the first time ever that I'm the most biased commentator in the league.
For the first time?
For the first time ever. Unbelievable.
You should be. You should be biased.
Yeah, that's the point.
You don't work for the NHL network. Like when people tell me like, oh, that, because like they know I'm buddies with you, right? They'll be like, oh, your buddy Simon, like he's so biased towards the Giants. I'm like, yeah, he works for the Giants. Like, why would
it's Belfast Giants TV.
And you know,
it's called Belfast Giants TV.
You talk about people with thick skin. I'm okay.
Yeah, no, I know.
One thing I would say, the dynamic of having in the Cardiff Devils doubleheader of having JD, having John Donovan on with Simon, so you've got a little bit for both fan bases.
Yeah.
He definitely toned it down. John's obviously very good behind the mic as well. That dynamic for webcasts of having a home and away fan really, really worked well too.
Yeah, no, I liked it, because you got to think like the majority of fans watching, like you're commentating for probably the families that are watching, Simon, really, because the majority of people buying are my fans when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, what would actually make more sense is you commentating around on every away game for your team rather than, do you know what I mean? Like that would actually make more sense. Yeah. And my owners always say that our commentators are not biased enough, because you ever have like watch some of them, and you know who's like this, Dundee's a bit like this. Dundee are like, they're so fun to watch, but they'll be like, you know, there'll be a goal and they'll be like, I don't think that was a goal, and you almost feel like, I'm sure the Dundee owners watching sometimes going, shut the fuck up, like but yeah, no, you guys, we've all experienced it. And it used to be hockey forums, and forums moved into Twitter, and people think their opinions matter. And I'm not ripping on like fans, and that's the thing. Fans can have their opinion, and fans also, I mean, Twitter's also a good judgment. If you're doing stuff wrong, like you're held accountable. Like if you're treating your fans poorly, they can hold you accountable. But I think it's sometimes other fan bases trying to create a mountain out of a molehill. That's something that happened at your venue, you know, like, I could give you a bunch of examples, but it'll just cause a shitstorm on Twitter again. So
I must try this Twitter out, mate. I must give it a go. Listen, Todd, we really appreciate you joining us. Just a comment that's come in from a Mark Hitchcock, who says, time to put that washing away behind you, killer.
That's blame my wife on that. Like there's like 40 boxes of shoes stacked up. I don't know why she keeps every shoe box we've ever had, but
does Killer still think Paul Adey is better than Doug Christensen? Hashtag Killer told me, says Mark Hitchcock.
You know, Coach Russell sent me that video the other day of Hitchy. You know, where is Hitchy? Like he's sort of.
But you know what? Guess what?
You'll get
Mark Hitchcock's making his playoff return. He'll be there for Friday night. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait. He'll
be there for Friday. He doesn't have a ticket yet, so he might be on the phone to you. But he's making his playoff return. Phenomenal. Just briefly, when does your whole playoff weekend start? When, you know, obviously you're a busy man when it comes to it, not just with your Devils hat, but with the league hat also. When do you get stuck in?
So I head up usually Thursday night, and then we'll set up Friday. Like it's like from the league standpoint, it's myself and Luke Fisher and Mike Hicks, and then Tony Smith sort of oversees all the volunteers and 50-50 sellers and stuff. So it's sort of the four of us that do it. And it's worked. Like we call in, we get Michael Barr from the Giants. Michael Barr comes and helps out. He's been helping out every year. And Brooksy used to be involved before he skipped and went to that other sport that we don't talk about, but
disgrace.
So everyone kind of pitches in, and it's not that complicated. It's running 2 hockey games, right? Like it's, you know, the arena's great to work with. They handle all the ticketing and suites and stuff. And then it's just 2 hockey games, you know? So it's not that complicated. So
Great stuff. Well, listen, mate, we really appreciate your time.
Are you guys all going? Are you all there? Are you all there?
We are all there.
No shoulder punch.
Are you going to a certain wings outlet on Friday night?
Saturday night for us.
We were talking about it. I don't know if you heard the story, but we were talking about it. We think it was 2010.
100% it was 2010. We won the playoffs that year.
Bosie was kind of at a loose end. Bosie was sort of there on his own, and he was hanging out with us. And there was me and Paddy and Dr. Love and whoever. And the day of the final, we went down. He says, we'll go down to the wing joint for a quick pint before the game. Bosie's been there for a couple of hours on his own, and he's eaten probably, I'm going to say 80 wings easily. Like,
there was a mountain of them.
A pile of bones. We've got like half an hour. So it's a pint, Bacardi and Coke for Dr. Love and a Diet Coke for Neil Russell. And the bill comes and it's like 90 quid. And Bosie's like, just split that 4 ways, boys. Mate, we've been here 10 minutes.
He was just waiting for anyone to show up.
He's coming in. Good times. But yeah, we'll be there. We'll be there over the weekend, mate. We'll be there over the weekend. Looking forward to seeing you.
We'll catch up. We'll catch up for sure. All right.
Nice one. Thanks, Todd.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure. See you there.
Always. Big thanks to Todd Kelman for joining us. Always worth bringing him on. He man's an absolute. Do you know what? I'm just seeing a comment that's coming in here. Yvonne Revel saying that she's looking forward to seeing us all on Sunday, and I appreciate.
We're looking forward to seeing you too.
We're looking forward to seeing you too, Yvonne. We've seen that check, and we're looking forward to seeing you as well. Congratulations on winning the 50-50 at the weekend in Glasgow. I'm sure the Glasgow fans were delighted with that. But Todd Kelman, really good to have him on. Really appreciate his time, and we're looking forward to seeing him at the weekend, gentlemen. We've covered a lot. We've spent a lot of time. I'm going to start wrapping things up quickly. There's a few little bits and pieces to do, and one of them is the Player of the Month award, which was passed out at the weekend. There, Sam Rupp, 49.7% of the vote, is the Player of the Month for March. It was given over by Kieran Murdoch of Pizza Guys. Says there's no real argument there. Rupper's been phenomenal all season long.
He's been brilliant all year long. And I think was Davy mentioned there last week about, we've been very, very lucky that there's probably a handful, maybe more, the guys that actually could have won that trophy last month. There's, when you look through Scott Conway, Gabe Bast, Sam Rupp, Goody was excellent, Steve Harley. There's a list of length of your arm that could have basically picked up the last 2 or 3 months players of the month, but couldn't happen to a nicer lad. He's just a top guy. He's been exemplary. He picked up that injury, missed the Sheffield game away during the season, and he's been carrying a knock, all season long. But he's just a top lad, top player, and thoroughly deserved, in my opinion.
One of the strongest D-men we have, Davey.
He's been ridiculously consistent this season. I was talking to Simon earlier on the stuff we end up talking about. We were talking about CHL games way back in August, September, time, and he had back-to-back first star of the games against Skellefteå. Kevin Rain went down, obviously, away there, got hit in the face. Don't think he played. We were talking earlier, Simon never played for us again, sadly. That was the injury that was just one too many for Rayner, and Sam stepped up massively. He had a really good season last year, but he stepped up in terms of minutes. That dynamic he has going with Gabe Bast has been superb. They dovetail really well. We talk about partnerships and D-men over the years, and the one partnership that I always really go back to is Elfring and Brickwell season 1. Not so much season 2, season 1. Elfie and Brickwell were just sensational together, and I just think Bast and Sam dovetail together so well. They're playing 23, 24, 25 shifts per game together. They're put out there on the penalty kill together. Basti plays with the extra man. Sam gets a bit of a rest at that time, but he's just such a phenomenal guy to have around the locker room and on the ice. He's just been superbly consistent, and that is, get the AVFTB Player of the Award and all. We can have a laugh about it. It's a little bit of recognition for what he's doing on the ice, and that's all it is. He's been really consistent, and I'm really glad to see him picking up a personal award. Like to see guys getting personally recognized as well. There's all these guys, and the top guys are always team first, and he'll be no different. But a little tip of the cap to someone just to say you've been extra good as always puts a little bit of air in the tires.
Yep. Congratulations to a very deserved Sam Rupp, who picked up the AVFTB Player of the Month for March, sponsored by Phonacab. Thanks, Phonacab, for sponsoring the award. Two little pieces just before we start to wrap things up with regards to the games. First of all, the Quinnipiac. I know David's getting lit. Congratulations to the Quinnipiac Bobcats, who become the first NCAA team to do the double. The Friendship Four and the Frozen Four, they are national champions. Says not only is this good for Quinnipiac, and we know how good they were when they came and played here. We spoke about it at the time. We spoke about it at that weekend. Great attack, great goalkeeping. Davy's good mate in goals, but the fact that they've went on to win the Frozen Four isn't just good for them. It's actually good for the Friendship Four.
Absolutely. You know, we were lucky enough that we've had this here now 6 years, and that Quinnipiac team were absolutely brilliant here in November. I mean, the goaltender, Davy's best mate there, he's going to go to the NHL. There's a number of other guys. There's a number of other guys that are going to go to the NHL. There's absolutely no doubt about that. It's phenomenal that, you know, you can basically get the Bell pot in November, and that was the Bean pot in the Frozen Four at the end of the season. Fantastic. Ron Pecknell, the head coach, has done a phenomenal job there. Again, he's just, you know, he's managed to pick up a bunch of winners, and they've come out with another trophy. And you know, I watched the game on Saturday night. I had that on the TV, and I had the Leafs game on the laptop at the same time. It was brilliant, just real top quality overtime goal. Game, what more do you want? You know, when Friendship Fours are announced, I still just can't believe that there's so many people that don't buy a ticket for it. I just can't get my head around. Yes, we all love watching the Belfast Giants, but this is the best hockey you'll see in Belfast in any particular year. Again, when the next one is announced, then make sure you get your tickets, because it's just phenomenal.
Yeah, Davey, congratulations to Zach Metz.
I'm just getting tired, mate.
Congratulations to Zach Metz, two-time AVFTB guest, friend of the show, picking up another trophy. But like Sis says, it's such a high quality, and that team were such a high quality team.
It's unreal how many of these guys actually go on to the NHL. Is going to yawn now. Go on to the NHL shortly after being in Belfast and go on to do good things as well. I was reading about Yaniv Peretza the other day. Montreal might make he's free agent, obviously, after university. And his numbers have been absolutely staggering the last 2 years. I have no idea how he didn't manage to get picked up in a draft of some form, but Montreal might take a dip on him. He's from that area, so it'd be amazing to see him in the NHL as well. But you know, there's guys that came through the Friendship Four this year that will go as high solid draft picks, and they'll go on to have amazing NHL careers. Now, I just double down on what Simon says. When it comes around again, make sure you get a ticket. We were really, really fortunate to be up close and personal with it all, and it's just such a stunning level of hockey. And you know,
you had a better view than most this year, Davey. You'd stand behind that net, and some big goals scored in that net. When you were doing
what did you call the big goalie from? Was it Dartmouth?
The big tall goalie from Dartmouth.
Kevin,
like 7'5" in skates.
Kevin, something.
Hold on.
Carry on, I'll find out.
Anyway, but the obviously position I had was right behind the goaltenders, and phenomenal goaltending, some brilliant goals scored down that end. We got quite lucky with a lot of the lion's share of the goals were scored down that end. But phenomenal. But just to keep it moving, phenomenal.
One last piece of news as well. You mentioned it earlier on, Davey, and that is another retirement, and that is the former Belfast Giants and Milton Keynes Lightning, Lee Jamieson. Jimmo won the league championship here in Belfast and multiple championships with the MK Lightning. We thank him for what he did here in Belfast, Davey. He was as a Brit player, he came in. He did his job, and he did it very well.
Lee Jamieson actually had a phenomenal amount of games for Belfast. I would say he played something like 350 games for Belfast. Can't remember now. Something like that. If Lee Jamieson had stayed for his career, and then add on the amount of games that he went and played for Milton Keynes and whoever else he played for, add them on to Belfast, over 1,000 games. He's been a really good servant to that level of hockey that he's played at. I think he could probably have played a lot more years. At the elite league level. Obviously, maybe the money wasn't there at the elite league level for him, and he was doing other things as well as playing in the lower leagues. Great servant to British hockey as well. We'll say this an awful lot about some of these guys that are retiring, but we wish JMO well. And remember when he first came in, Jason Ruff taking him under his wing to an element. Simon might remember that a little bit more.
Quite good friends, I think.
Teaching him how to stand up and fight on skates and stuff. And, that was all good memories. Good memories.
JMO says,
I remember watching JMO in 1999. We had an invitation. I was coaching the junior, before the Giants was born, but the junior Northern Ireland squads at that point. And we went to play a tournament in Milton Keynes. And JMO stood out head over shoulders. I think he was 15 at the time, 14, 15. He was absolutely outstanding. One of the best players that age group I've seen in a long, long time. And when he came into Belfast, I reminded him about that as well. Maybe we should get him on at some point and, maybe start next season and have a talk about his time in Belfast. But, you talk about the quality of British players who are going away from the sport now. And, when in his day, when he was playing in Belfast, he was right up there with getting good ice time and getting well rewarded for it as well. So another one where you've got to look at, and unfortunately, he's right and hung his skates up.
I'm looking at the at a chart here, but I was trying to work it out. But basically, Lee Jameson. David just mentioned Lee Jameson's mum is the cousin of my dad. So I think it's like a second cousin first removed or something like that. But yeah, there was I didn't realize this until my grandmother died and Lee Jameson was at the funeral. I was like, "You're Lee Jameson from the Belfast Giants."
Just look at Davy's stats here. I don't know if he's got them dug out. 293 games, 30 goals, 42 assists, 321 penalty minutes, 8 fights for Lee Jameson.
Not bad.
293.
Congratulations. That's congratulations to Lee Jameson again on a great career, and I wish him well in the future. The Belfast Giants will take on the Nottingham Panthers on Saturday at 3 p.m. at the NIC. That game is on Viaplay. It will be shortly followed by the Steelers versus the Devils Saturday at 7 p.m. These games are later this year, 3 p.m. and 7 when they used to be 1 and 5. Saturday at 7 p.m. at the NIC. That's at Viaplay as well. Of course, then that goes on to Sunday, 1 p.m. for the third place game, or the most important game in British hockey, and then the final takes place at 5 p.m. and that will be on Viaplay. We've been through all these, lads. I'll not dig in, unless you've got anything more you want to say on these games.
Listen, it's going to be a task. The Panthers are going to be well up for this weekend. There's no doubt about that. Whatever happens on Sunday will happen on Sunday, but our boys will be concentrating on Saturday, and they know that they're going to have to step their game up from weekend just past.
From a Belfast Giants perspective, no other game matters right now. It's Saturday 3 p.m. at the NIC, the Belfast Giants versus the Nottingham Panthers. Any other business, gentlemen? Two pieces for David.
Things. Simon, you want to go first?
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Davey. Work away.
Okay, right. The first thing is this. This is because the only thing that I got a distinction in tech was law. This is a contract. Okay, so
we see it. We see it.
It's basically a contract. Okay, so
contract. We see it. We all see it. Everybody watching here live and everybody watching back on YouTube will see that is a contract, and that Yvonne Revel will be buying us a pint. Okay.
Second and final thing, because I know we'll do a closeout podcast, win, lose, or draw next week. Possibly the last podcast of the season, but I don't want it to get lost in the shuffle at the end. I want to thank Stevie Thompson, Keelan Daly, and Phil Armstrong for helping me over the last number of years with stats. They're all taking a step away from statting. I imagine Stevie Thompson will still keep his own spreadsheet because he's a bit of a rain man that way. It's unbelievable what these guys have done numbers wise to help out the organization, to help me to try and help Kiefer and Dortch find a 10th of 1%. That's all we're trying to do. And even if we don't do anything, we give Simon some stuff to talk about on the webcast. So, we enjoy doing the numbers, and I'd like to thank them for all their help over the last number of years. So cheers, guys. It's been really, really appreciated.
a phenomenal team, mate, and you should be very proud of the way it went and the way it's been going, and congratulations to them and thanks for what they've done. Says
I said last week that the OSC have put a raffle together for a signed 2010 Boston Bruins jersey. All the money raised is going to the Ukraine Hockey Dream. Ticket sales are going phenomenal at the minute, but it's still on sale up until the 18th of April. So if you want to get your hands, hopefully, potentially on a signed 2010 Boston Bruins jersey, then you can get it on the Belfast Giants website. We'll stick it on AVFTB tonight. And please, as I say, all money raised. The raffle, the company that does the raffle itself, they charge a fee. Once that fee is taken out, every single penny is going to the Ukraine Hockey Dream. So please support it if you possibly can.
If you're watching live, and just go to our View from the Bridge Twitter, it's just appeared. Get yourself involved on that. There have been some great names added to that list. I know that the two that were added today, and Calbeady and Max Stewart, they'll be part of that all-star side. We talked about Steve Saviano being part of that side. JJ, you were saying we talked about last week. There's been a few others announced this week as well. I should have been better prepared for this, but the team that have been put together so far looks like it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. So that's on the 18th. 19th.
Wednesday night.
The 19th of April, the game against the Depot Kirshen at the SSE Arena and a Belfast Giants all-star team. Get your tickets to that. It's going to be a great night. Is that a chance? Are we done?
Me.
It's a big weekend ahead. The Belfast Giants will face the Nottingham Panthers Saturday at 3 p.m. at the NIC. No other game that matters at this moment in time. Big thanks to Scott Conway, Chris Ellis, John Phillips, and Todd Kelman for their time. You get the games as before. If you're not making your way over to the NIC, of course, you can follow it with Murph and co on Viaplay. You can get us at AVFTB on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, kingdomofthegiants.com. Send us an email, podcast@kingdomofthegiants.com. Send a carrier pigeon. It'll be fine. We get without any messages. We really appreciate every piece of interaction you have with us, be it here live in the chat box down this side, I think, or if you're sending us tweets through the week. Really appreciate everything that you give us. If you see us about the playoffs, come up and say hello. Always good to have a bit of a chat, and we're always willing to talk hockey and have a bit of a laugh. Gents, I shall see you on Saturday.
You shall.
And
yes, sir.
Hitchcock's going to be there
from Friday.
I know he's booked himself on the Friday today. So,
when you guys arrive?
Saturday morning, mate.
Saturday morning.
It's a one-night wonder for me this time. Can't get too much to deal with at home. What would you, Davy? I suppose you'll go on Sunday as soon as the game's finished.
Results dependent. On when I leave Nottingham. I've left. I've been known to be out of Nottingham within 5 minutes of the semi-final loss with Steve Thornton and Shane Johnson to the airport within 10 minutes. But
I remember that well.
I've also been fortunate to celebrate long into the night as well on one occasion. So let's hope that it's the latter.
Well, to those who are travelling, have a great time. We look forward to seeing you there. The Belfast Giants are going again for that third trophy. They face Nottingham Panthers Saturday at 3 p.m. and then onwards from there. And wherever you are watching your hockey this weekend, we hope you enjoy it. We'll catch you here next time on A View from the Bridge.